With that, I am going to be starting with someone who is totally new to me. And I had to make sure I got his name correctly. It's Omowole Jesse N. Alexander, who is the son of Jesse. And I'm just going to read a bit of his bio. So I'm actually going to just read it so I don't mess it up. And of course, for those of you who are like me, yes, I'm using the big print. Omowole Jesse M. Alexander is a son of Jesse, patriarch of the Alexander clan, leader, organizer, raceman, and Maud Anna Griot, visionary, artist, poet, muse, teacher, ancestor. He lives in Piscataway land in Maryland. We are stolen but thriving people living on stolen land. His poetry has won second place in the First Flood in Agricultural Organizations, Zero Hunger in the First World Food Day 2018 contest, and placed as a finalist in the 1999 Patterson Literary Review's Allen Ginsberg Poetry Contest. He has been featured at Grace Calvert-Larry's The Poets and the Poem 2020-2021 series, Words, Out Loud, Virtual Reading, Evil Grand, and Davies Memorial Unitarian Universalist Church Annual Poetry Service. That's just a little bit about who he is. His work has appeared in Remembering Amiri Baraka, Free Black Space, Content and Code for Those Living in the Black. And without any further ado, may I please introduce Omowole Jesse N. Alexander.
Thank you so much. I'm going to open, and as I used to open when I was running around in Newark, I'm going to open with a poem by a poet who is no longer with us, who is an ancestor. This is a poem I just found out about this week, actually. It's entitled Paul Robeson by Gwendolyn Brooks. That time we all heard it, cool and clear, cutting across the hot grit of the day, the major voice, the adult voice, foregoing rolling river, foregoing tearful tale of bale and barge, and other symptoms of an old despond, warning in music words, devout and large, that we are each other's harvest, we are each other's business, we are each other's magnitude and bond. Paul Robeson by Gwendolyn Brooks. Now I'm going to read from my new book. I'll put out the information on how to get a copy. The light box, I'm going to read the invocation poem. Say, poet, get a life, get a job, get out of the house, talk everywhere strong, make yourself useful, lift up your head, speak up those words, open up your mouth, get real, have courage, disrespect the king, rock boats, save your soul, drum your voice upon dark waters, ask all God's questions, dance naked with shadows, howl at the moon, make faces at babies. Jump into the middle of conversations, read the trashiest rags you can find, kiss the cool brow of death, shout in the church, act like you got some sense, blink out into the sunlight, stand up straight, don't hide, you belong to this earth. That's the invocation poem. All right, let's see. I'm going to read, I'm going to hide my messy room. And like that, there we go. I'm going to read another poem. This poem is Leonid, 11/18/2001, at 5 12:57 a.m. And this poem is, I think this is the second or third date with my wife. We actually went out to a park in New Jersey to watch the Leonid meteor showers. So this is Leonid. Language was lost to us, wayward children of a minor star. We are transfixed beneath, inside the blue, blue belly of our mother as we stood in a circle at Eagle Rock Park, watching, waiting, wandering at the meteors streaking in colored tongues above us in all directions. We could only make baby sounds. All right, so many stars. This is a found poem, somewhat of a found poem. I found the start of this poem in a fortune cookie, and one of the fortune cookie fortunes, and it was, the stars appear every night in the sky. All is well. News is all the stars are in their places, and in spite of astrologers' attempt to mind their business, all is well. News is the moon is full, smiling for you, or so you think, smiling on an evening you call good, when a breeze is right and the sea sounds soothing, and you don't even think about what she might be doing on her dark side behind her back. News is sunrise seems beautiful. Is that because we fear the dark? News is somewhere funnel clouds belly dance, enticing the roofs off churches and hospitals and other safe illusions, and anybody can get up into a gigantic little death somewhere. There are gentle evening raindrops, while somewhere there are gentle evening raindrops to jazz tangled lovers into a sweet sleep like children. Don't worry about it. Don't study it too hard. Happenings are happening. Everything is everything. And news is the clockwork is not of your hands. Okay. All right. So let's see. I'm just looking at the time here. I'm going to break it up a little bit. I'm going to read outside. I'm going to go outside of the text. I'm going to put the text down. I'm going to read something because my spirit is moved to read this book. This one is a new one called Headlines. Rice Admits Touching Beans. An insider told us Rice started the melee by calling plate white and the pot and kettle black. It was shocking. Rice was caught planning a boiling with curry and coconut milk. Last night, Rice was seen getting brown in the iron skillet with caramelized onions and chopped garlic. In a tweet, Kalalu called out Rice's denial of sordid affairs with collard greens. That wild rice will destroy our country, an angry Arizona legislator said. Rice gets a lesson about life with mango slices while sticky sweet and wrapped in banana leaves. Alert neighbors helped expose dirty rice touching hot beans and a secret liaison in my mouth. All right, how we doing, Elijah, on time? Did I use up my first 10?
We are in great shape. And guys, in case we didn't tell you the format, we were actually going to let them read about 10 minutes each, and then we were going to take a brief announcement and then do a second set. So if you don't mind, do you mind just doing one more for us?
I don't mind at all. I don't mind at all. I will.
Thank you.
I will. Let's see here. I'm going to do a nice one here. I'm going to read this one here. I'm going to read this one real short. What if God is not dead? She's just patiently waiting, watching, arms folded upon her breasts for us to come on home.
All I'm going to say is bravo, bravo.
Thank you.
This is my first time hearing you, and I knew I was going to be disappointed, but be prepared. I think well, my nickname is Okra. I'm named after
Oh,
Oprah. I'm named after Oprah Winfrey. So the second set, expect some questions. So I just want to warn everybody about that who's
okay,
reading
good.
today. But I
That's
do
good.
want to say to those who are writers, that was a really great set. And from that, I think that I got a writing prompt, and it's basically is we are moved by spirits. So that is what I heard. That was like the first thing that you read. And the last thing you talked about was that you were going to read something that were moved by the spirit. So for those of you who are a writer, the writing prompt today is we are moved by spirits and truly
Ooh.
moved by that reading. Omowole, thank you. That was absolutely stunning. And now comes someone who doesn't realize it. I've just adopted him. He's now my nephew. I figure that we are birthed. I love that word, birthed, as if that's a word, but it's a sound that we can recognize. We are birthed by family members, and then we can rectify those things by picking people to be our family. So I just met Brother Yao, but in his spirit, I sense greatness. And just a little bit about him. He is a poet and nonfiction writer, author of One Shoe Morning, Towards Heaven, which was published in Crab Orchard Review, African American Review, Plowshare, just to name a few. And he teaches at Bowie State University. So without any further ado, we are now going to be blessed by Brother Yao.
Okay, and everybody hear me all right? Okay. Yeah, and thanks, Jesse, man, for inviting me to the reading. And Shakeema, you've inspired, taught me so much about images and some new nuances and subtleties. So it's an honor to be able to read with you. I begin with a poem from my first book, which is called Go Forth and Speak the Gospel, Get Your House in Order. Bringing the nurse screaming at the top of her lungs, your mind rolling like a jet through LA, San Fran, London, every place you have ever been. Your jaw dropped, open, body naked, except for the white robe with 100 purple and pink flowers above your waist, a skirt with wind in it. There are no words left to say help me or bring me. With, you are pulling on the plastic lifeline, anchoring you to this world. Months later, you will not remember this. You will wake from 3 months of wrestling with your shadow and ask, where's my son? As if no one else were on your side, as if he or anyone could save you from having your head dunked into the sea of death, second after second, time after time, day after day. You will only remember forces, memories, transparent like ghosts, beings there are no words for on this side of sleep. You trudge through your mind and decide to call them angels. Yes, angels, something like that. Powers and principalities. When your son finally shows up, it is a whole season later. Not a leaf on a tree outside, the air dead cold, snow on the ground. You call him to the side of the bed and tell him to be the best poet in the world, but he does not hear you. He is too busy trying to make out the hieroglyphics of your mouth. You have made it back, but your voice, old man, you gotta wait just a little bit longer. Then the next poem is Clouds. Coiled around the earth, silent mothers who hear Their children say terrible things and wonder if all will be all right. Smoke or the children of fire, sometimes pregnant with rain or flat and stretched like the words of a lover who will not say, I love you. I think about the clouds when I am tired. I say things I don't mean. My anger, thunder, day, dark and blue. Forgive me for having to breathe the dusk each day into my lungs or singing along with the radio out of tune. I'm just a man trying hard not to disappear, trying hard to stay just above the world. And then the next poem is a more recent poem. Those two poems were from my first book. But this here is called On Storms and Contradictions. I'm not a poet. My father told me so. Never said that I was anything less. Anything more wouldn't sound right. He knew a compliment is half dream, half devil. Feed the ego and it sings hunger louder. So we'd sit in the dark, sometimes looking lonely. Silence bleeds the heart of its contradictions. We were not sad or crying into ourselves. I thought that at first. I didn't know how to listen. Born into that house with its complex math. It's all the same day, some of us so blind, we think singing a heart that's broken make it heal. He never said he liked it, never said he didn't. You might not think he was listening, but maybe he was hearing what I couldn't. He told me to watch the storms come in. I looked at the sky, dark and blue, saw the rain come, but still wondered what he meant to say, what nothing was. Maybe that was the point. Maybe he was a storm. Maybe there's some things you just can't sing. And then I'll read one last one, which is a newer poem. Let me just find it real quick. Small Circles, Big Wide World, for Jita Jallo and Brian Gilmore. The streets of Wuhan look like New York at night if you ain't never been there. You won't believe me. Maybe Paris or Amsterdam, but not Wuhan. Who ever heard of Wuhan? China, city, bright lights, subway. Once I saw the moon rise so bright, I thought about the other side of the world. Who I was, what I was looking at, looking for, how far away home is, what I was looking at more than who was looking at me. I come from America, so the staring ain't never bothered me. I've been frisked, so eye frisking don't matter. The 10,000 eyes, I don't really care. Nobody thought I had a gun. I learned to not mind the minding. Where I come from, it's different. Our own American danger. I post up with Jita, a Jallo from the tribe of tribes I done heard about, with genes and rage like mine. We Jinjo and Baijo, talk shit and eat chicken feet. On the street, eat with chopsticks. Like Pan-Africanism is more and less than Garvey, Nkrumah, and Padmore. In this city, we sing some names that the Chinese don't know. He from Freetown, and I'm from the land of the free. Half the folks I know will say this ain't a poem. Africa ain't a country, it's a continent. Cheap wine and cheap cigarettes, lazy Susans, and the paper box ornament of the old empire, and the people coming in from the hills to the skyscraper cities, to Starbucks and Burger King, eat malatang every day, suck some sweet, eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, slurp the wine and say, Gambe, like we say bottoms up. China's bottoms up. The world spins on its axis, flips every day. An African American singing the blues across the sea. G to laugh. I'm like, it's just you and me. Worlds apart in the world we don't know. Charles Taylor destroyed Freetown. He once stayed on my street in Lanham, Maryland, a city nobody knows, like the Chinese cities, the small towns, like Wuhan. We get drunk and ask, what's a poem got to do with anything? I told Jeter I lost my business and my head broke. Jeter said the dogs in Moyan were like the dogs in Freetown. They ate flesh. We all eat flesh, he say. We look each other in the eyes and say, my father, rage, passion, love, red eyes, and the strange music we sing to ourselves when we are drunk or so happy the world will not take us seriously. Those dogs, Jeter said, you gotta kill them.
Well, after the first poem, I was gasping for air. And with the last poem, you are definitely related to Rosa Mae Pringle. Take no prisoners. Unbelievable, unbelievable. And once again, for those who are writers who are out there, you said get our house in order. And I'm going to tell you the lesson that I took from you is one that I'm going to hold dear. I'm paraphrasing you. It's not an exact quote, but feed your ego and it only grows more hungry. I think that is going to haunt me for the rest of my humbled life. So for those of you who are writers, I think that's a great prompt to take, a great prompt. And now, I am excited because this next writer could be a gifted by God relative, possibly, but definitely someone who I am going to call grandniece. Like me, she has roots in South Carolina. So of course, I'm going to be completely biased. And I'm very good at being biased, by the way. I perfected it. And without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Shakeema Smalls, who is from Georgetown, South Carolina. Her work has been published in a variety of outlets, including Blackberry, A Magazine, Tidal Bassin Review, The Femme, Radius Lit, Free Black Space, the Pittsburgh Poetry Review, and I'm going to say I'm expecting her to join the Moonstone Arts Center family and submit work like my other two friends are going to do as well. Without any further ado, Shakeema Smalls.
Thank you so much, Elijah. And I mean, how do I follow that? Like, y'all tore down the house with those poems. Those were amazing poems. And thank you so much for sharing those. So I'm just going to read a couple of poems from what I think is an upcoming manuscript. And I'm going to start with a poem called Petition. Can you hear me okay? God loves each of us as if there were only one of us, St. Augustine. When I was born, they covered my eyes and washed my feet like a dead man. It was here I grew into my first rites as a wild garden, gnashing girl. My mama told me to pray. My auntie taught me to work. Said if I didn't pray, I'd die reciting war songs. Said if I don't work, I better find something that do. I'd run through the field overgrown with bitter lettuce, seeds floating past my eyes, and wait for them to close the doors to the city. It'd be here that I could be set free, lips pressed to the soil, doing what only prayers could. Here, I learned the secret languages of my grandmother's hands, of the smells of food lines wrapped around the block, white diamonds and 11 a.m. coffee drippings on the burners at the corner deli. I stood in line while church mothers dressed in white from doily to pantyhose packed brown bags for our winter pantry. They filled our laundry bags with bread, sweet milk, chicken, and raisins. No one knew the law nor the debt, but they fed us anyway. I asked my mother, what will I be? When we were 16, we sold each other Newports, rapping on three-way and instant messages, hoping we'd get read before somebody called the house phone. Our boyfriends were dirty-necked project boys who lied and fucked and gathered us up by the mailboxes every afternoon. Hurricanes on their backs, all of them, some of them, handsome public progeny, smelling of Noxzema and Vaseline. We were beautiful and near dead, but by grace, were saved by our babies humming sing-along songs to the end of the world. Cornelia Street. For Keisha, Gladys, and Shaquana. In a box between her twin cousins and 3 dead aunts is a photo of the old co-op off Cornelia and Halsey, where all her granddaddy's girls, fixtures of the building stoop, became high-hipped astronauts, pinning their doobies and tying their shirts as they grabbed old phone cords out the kitchen drawer. Little sisters of the sidewalk, popping at each other's legs, between flesh and concrete, gold jewelry gathered about their necks and earlobes like baptismal collars. Their rhythmic hands, sacred balances holding time, the power in their straw legs defying physics. Evening Conjure 1. Phyllis Hyman sings to the moon, and through our alley kitchenette, Pun and Big L on Hot 97, many living summers ago, speakers rumbling the block, or Wednesday evening choir practice and tenor discernible only to even the impious, next door to a bar whose owner loves Sonny Rollins and corn liquor, the sound of the hood as drum or heartbeat. Morning Conjure 2. I received my certificate of ancestry. I hear my extensions cry suspect. I recall I must speak to my ancestors in bare English and binary. Here are the names of my children, upon which they are coded and placed, in the market and in the cloud. Every identity a treason, all violence and service, no mercy. And I think I'll read this one and stop. This last one here is called Debt. I be not of ease, my muscles dystopian trinkets, $1 in my breast pocket, its all-seeing eye to the back of a grocery line, put back stacked to the back of my cart. I am standing back and what holds me is gravity. I be not of ease, my arms dystopian trinkets that murder upon waking. On stolen sleep, I pace my kitchen, outmarching the roaches, their cannibalistic society humming under the percussion of my feet. I dream of the devil and be not ease, turning the balls of my feet into rocket ships, an old Camry settled into a junk heap in my front yard. Mine, the song of shift work and bounce deposits. I become a lover of weather, of one season or another, a sense of being free where I do not belong. Thank you.
I'm going to start by saying, obviously, you understood about not feeding your ego, because if they burned it down, you rebuilt it only to burn it down again. That was stunning, stunning. You left me with just, first of all, the musicality of your writing. It was just wonderful to hear that music, but there was a point where your writing was confusing me. because I didn't know whether I was listening to a writer or watching a painter. Your imagery were so vivid and so rich. And I'm not critiquing you, I'm just saying I'm in awe of your skill and your talent. And actually, I am embarrassed that I have not heard the three of you until today. So I want to thank the spirit of Sandy for allowing me to do that. And right now we're going to have a second set, but I also want to take time to talk a little bit about Moonstone Arts Center. We do, well, I can't remember how many events we do, but as Larry will tell you, it's every year it's over 100 poetry events that's done each year. And we've been doing it forever, it seems. Even in our new virtual world, we're rather active. There are at least one anthology published each month at Moonstone Publishing. So I would ask you guys to go to our website and submit, because there's so many different anthologies that we're working on, some about protest, some about celebration. And I would say that all voices are welcome, from the beginning writers who are writing out of passion to more experienced writers who are trying to maintain their passion. So I would say that please submit, and without any more blabbering from me, I am now going to take on my persona of Okra. This is your host, Okra Elijah. And with that, I am going to go back to Omowole, and I have to ask you a couple things. Besides your wonderful work, am I correct? Were you at Howard University?
Yes.
Okay. Do you hold a degree in a science related degree? Is that correct?
Yes, I have master's in electrical engineering.
Okay,
Long time ago.
So I'm going to ask you,
Yeah.
how does that science background influence your writing, or does it?
It does. I think some cases the way, so it's funny. I get the question often, and I think I answer it differently every time. So there's sort of a myth about science, and especially science applied as engineering, that it's very rote, very clear, very, but there's a lot of creativity involved in science and engineering, especially in engineering, because it's not just how to make the bridge, but how to make the bridge beautiful. Right. I'm just going to use an analogy that everyone can relate to from a different discipline than one I chose 50 years ago. Right. It's kind of how do you make the bridge beautiful? How does it hold the weight? How does it handle traffic and all that stuff? There's so much room for creativity in there. And many cases, in most cases, you solve problems creatively. And so backing away from that, the next thing is engineering. And back in the day, I would say it was 80% writing. 80% writing. So and 20% calculating and that kind of stuff. So I come by this honest, in other words, and I'm writing in parallel. I'm writing poetry in the evening, and I've been writing reports. It is everything from trip reports to test reports to design descriptions to all kinds of documentation, so all that stuff. So they talk to each other. I don't think I have any poems in this particular book that I just finished yet, but there's one poem that I have, and I don't want to waste time looking for it, where I'm actually talking about designing circuits to Coltrane. And I don't, and so I'm talking about, and I lay the poem out just like I would lay out a circuit, like I used to back in the day. So there's bleed over from both into each other. They inform each other. And I think part of the reason why I've been able to keep going creatively is because of that dialogue between the two. Science is and engineering too are really influenced. They're human activities, so they're influenced by creativity. They're influenced by serendipity. I'm thinking of the scientists who came up with the whole benzene ring. That came from a dream. He saw these results and he couldn't match them with any of his calculations. But the image that he had when he went to sleep and woke up was that of a snake biting its tail. And that's how he figured out how benzene was a bunch of carbon atoms in a ring. Okay. And that's how then his calculations and his observations fit the theory once he was able to do that. I can't tell you how many times I was at work way back in the day where I would go to sleep on a problem and wake up with a solution the next day for engineering. And that's usually when I write poems. I write poems when I first wake, usually. It's usually the dying embers of something else, some fire that was burning overnight, And that's my long answer to your short question.
No, I think that whether you wanted to or not, you gave us more great lines to work with. And I think everybody kind of mentioned how to make the bridge more beautiful. That's another one's gonna stay with me. So I thank you because, poetry is really the concentration of our thoughts, but sometimes it's great just to hear the thoughts flow freely. So I thank you for sharing that. And from that, I want to see another beautiful bridge. I turn it back over to you, my brother.
All right. Okay, thanks. Let's see. I'm not going to fumble and find that poem. I'm going to read, this is The Perfect 10. And you mentioned Howard University. This one is dedicated to one of my fellow engineers at Howard University. The Perfect 10. Number 1. She, dark of almond eye, too easy, broad of smile, Africocoa sweet, is melodious undertow. She, indigo skinned and C-shaped, marked by everything warm and southern, and never left, never forgotten. She who rises to drum play in purple midnight foam like a prayer. She whose hips sing swinging Afro blue, tempting cool little drownings. She is post Ma'afa siren to the night that is her dark lover. 2. Brothers, when she walked in, I was a witness to the perfect 10, he testified, pausing pregnant, waiting for our amen. Then his eyes rolled up beneath his fluttering eyelids, his head rocked back, then forward, as if possessed by slave ship chant. She was black, brothers, black, as if carved from the ebony itself. Her hair tumbled in loose dreads down onto her bare shoulders. She walked in barefoot, brothers, barefoot, with everything, and everything stopped. Nothing on but cut off jeans, short shorts, and a striped tube top, straining against 2 perfect breasts. Said, she walked in and everything stopped, brothers, stopped. Licking a ice cream cone, curling her tongue, flashing her almond eyes, and smacking her full chocolate lips. Shocking, shocking was the white of the vanilla dripping down against her heat-smooth midnight hand. She walked in and I mean, everything stopped. Juke stopped. Trouble stopped, point stopped in midpoint, fingers poised in midair, solutions to world hunger and racism and the Middle East and the peace just had to wait when she walked in. And hell, even the sisters stopped, bucked their eyes, kicked their man hard under the table and just stare with mouths hanging open. She just stood there, drop dead fine. I mean, fine without mercy fine. I mean, scandalous fine. I mean, 10 on the Richter scale fine, like to make a blind man see, make a blind man see. Then she just up and walked out, leaving the place full of her absence, just up and walked into the night like it was her lover. And we were nothing, nothing but something to do. 3. She who crossed the sand, undulating hip caravan moved towards setting moon surf. It was she who left no footprints in the shore, but wet in dreamer's heart. It was she who returned to the dark sea that opened like her night, like her lover. Okay, that's a long one.
Wow.
That's a prayer poem for Yemaya, actually. Perfect 10. All right, let's see. This is another one here. This one is, and I kept calling you. Out from cotton, corn, and hemp farms, out from chain gang factories, out from the sacred, artificially shining red LED blinking, cues on hold for them that decided and allowed and gave and took, out from the closets dark and closed and crowded with little brown boys hiding tears, out from the wake up of ungodly hour to count our fears, small lines forming near our eyes. I kept calling you. Day after day, I send you visions of white crucifix engulfing black bowed bodies, broken for you. I send you blue poem of Yemaya to light by. I send you sunlight dreams of working party from back of bumpty bump truck, nuns gathering blue uniformed children and brown dirt yard of unfinished school like mothered mallards. I even whisper you scribble pencil notes on half asleep Branch Avenue Green Line to the computer farms of the district, underground railroad still running, and we needs more conductors. You don't know how precious you are, and I kept calling you even when you playing possum, even when you close your eyes like salt of habit and sing those stupid self-hate songs and whip yourself for bad thoughts and mistakes like you a slave. Even when you deny me you, I keep on calling you like all and everything that matters. How am I doing on time?
All I can say is bravo. And if you don't mind,
I don't
one
mind.
more.
Okay, one more. All
Thank
right,
you.
one more. I'm going to do Rabbit God, Clayman, and this is after I read Joy Harjo's excellent poem, Rabbit is Up to Tricks. Number 1, Father God, I awoke in your arms, breath of dandelion blossoms in my lungs, so hungry to be pleasing in thy sight, so hungry to be enough. 2, the creatures of this world were a bright blur to me, their mouths open, their mouths closed, their legs take them from the village and bring them back like mine. They have babies that grow like corn in the earth, and I watch it all behind the glass that is my skin. 3, Father, you are all I know, touching and being touched, seeing and being seen. 4, I only know the heart drums through my chest, so I danced as close to them as I could. But the others pulled me away, remember? Their mouths opening and closing fast, their eyes red with flame. Remember how they chased me from the circle, first with fists, then with sticks? 5, I grew in your lessons, learning the smiling of your eyes. 6, oh, great teacher, I was so hungry. You taught me how to eat. All the corn didn't fill me. All the chickens weren't enough. All the wives and I was still alone. They hid deep within their skins. All I saw was their fear and not their hearts. 7. I brought you all the gold sacrifice. I took all the land and salmon from the rivers. I built all the countries and religions too for you. Why were you still not pleased with me? 8. Then I burnt it all with lightning and giant orange mushrooms of fire as an offering to you. 9. Now as a man, I hold you in my arms. How strange the tears matting your gray fur of your cheeks. Your sacred mouth trembles, opens and closes slowly, slowly. Why, oh why, Father, are you still not pleased with me?
And on that, I'm going to say ashe and amen. Thank you so much. Like I said, I am so glad, Omowole, Jesse M. Alexander, that today was the day that we were able to meet and share and grow. I appreciate you. And with that, I'm going to go to, so you've met my brother, my younger brother. Now you're going to meet my nephew, Brother Yao. I would like to ask you a question. Can you, are you familiar with the best little book on Black history? Are you familiar with that?
I think I am.
You think you are? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, now it's a book I wrote with a colleague of mine, Dr. Valerie Prince, and basically, instead of looking at Black history as a sort of binary opposition and defining it as fighting against racism, it takes Black folks and gives them categories that have nothing to do with opposition. So they're wanderers, they're badasses, outlaws, serial killers, anonymous representations of the masses. So it's really a book that, in almost a humorous way, which again, if you say humor and you say Black history, the only people that get away with that are comedians. Everybody else has to be sort of serious and depressed. So it's a different type of book that really gets at, you know, if you were born Black as compared to being Black, you know, how would your life play out? So it's an interesting book. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna get it published, but because it's difficult out there. But we've been working on it, and we're pretty close. We're about 2 centimeters away. But you know, Jesse is he's an engineer and a scientist, and so he knows how far 2 centimeters or 2 inches are. You know, that you can still be wrong, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I love that concept. And to quote one of my favorite philosopher, Elliot Pearson, he often stated that poetry out of anger is the easiest thing to write. Poetry about understanding is the hardest. So I love what you're doing with this. I love this because you're right. This is you're right. Most of the history about but I like this. This seems more like a celebration, which I'm always for celebration. And with that in mind, please celebrate us with more of your work.
All right, so I'll read a couple of poems. The first one is called Love Song. It says, before I was born and born to an ambition, my father dreamed my mother as the woman he would one day love. Not knowing her face or the innocence she cultivated like a small cup of tea on a large round table in the house of my grandparents. My grandfather's anger rattled the table. He slammed his hand down and my mother sipped calmly from the chipped teacup. There was a place near the rim where she ran her tongue across it, the tiny waves. I was a dream then. We all are dreams. Nothing is impossible, they would tell me. We are all like the land, boundless and deep, stretching into horizons, beautiful and vast. When I am singing their song, even now, under the gentle fires of a calm life, I think of their love. It's shaped like clouds, covering the moon at night. Sometimes you can see them, the moon there, shining bright, a strange flower in the sky. And then the next poem is My Father Rides His Horses into the Distance. What now? She asks, and slams the door. Violence hidden and the sex underneath that. Walk across the room and cry a little, but don't let nobody see it. Both of them, like opposites and ideas, with flesh pasted onto skeletons. Then the dust comes, then the speeches, the long rants in heads, fights that have no words, the dead people who could not rest, the sun going down. The old streets of the city where once there were horses, a man singing ice, milk, butter, bread, what it's all about. He goes outside and talks to the man in the always winter, the cold heated by his breath. He whispers and the white smoke rises. He sings the only song he knows. He will not go back into that house. He buys a horse who is too old to run and grabs the rope and walks him down the street and into the night, and the cold swallows him. And then I'll read just one more, which is a little bit more hopeful. My father speaks of his father. If you did not resist, May's light might sing different. There's still spring in the battlefields, and everywhere there is blood. Underneath everything, the skin of the world breathes, even when it is not broken. Speaking of love is not love. That's the secret. My own father taught me. He left like a season. But in that simple season, when he fished in the muddy creek and made love to my mother, that was love. Some of the loves you can't remember. Some have no names. I was born in a love that did not last. Some of the loves are everlasting. Some are like the sun rising. We are not born to fight, but we do. And we tangle love in that fight. We resist the changing of the seasons with history and memory. Make a Bible of what was said. I don't know his face or the way he danced and made my mother smile, but I know he sang sometimes and she liked it. Hey, thanks, Jesse. Appreciate you, man. And I'm so happy, man, that you got this book out. All right.
I appreciate you, and thank you so much.
I'm just, I'm just overwhelmed. And like I said, publicly embarrassed not to have known the beauty of the works of these poets here today. Brother Yao, absolutely. I have to say that I appreciate your intense, you're very intense. And then there's this compassion. And within all of those emotions, I don't feel anger. And you said that this is a more hopeful piece. No, everything you shared today was about hope and celebration. And I mean it sincerely. And I think it's because of your spirit. Um, and not just your words, but just really your spirit and who you are. At this point, I can't think of anyone better to close us than Shakeema. And I'm going to ask you something different. My daughter, as Sonia would say, what is the lesson you would like to give to your elders right now? What is it that you need us to do differently? And be honest.
Honestly, I think that because when you're younger, you talk about this stuff a lot, but you don't necessarily have the life behind you to always put it in experience. But I think that the thing that I would say we need is for elders who are willing to listen, like actually listen deeply and not just like say, like, I'm listening. Because if you've taught us well, and in a lot of cases you have, then there should be there should be something generative about that exchange, about that rearing, about that development. There should be a willingness to trust us with what you've left us, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. So that was an emotional trust us with what you've left us. Wow. I don't even know what to say. I hope that you continue to write on that subject matter, but thank you. Thank you. I mean, I take that sincerely. That was powerful and it's left me kind of emotional and speechless. Please continue.
So this next poem is going to, and thank you so much. I just feel like, you know, after you've heard a couple of poems, you're just like in that space. But this next poem is actually about memory. It's called They Asked Me to Remember. And it's after Lucille Clifton, who is, you know, a high ancestor for many of us poets. But also after this writer named Murakami from Japan, whose fiction I really like and used to read a lot back in undergrad days. They asked me to remember, after Lucille Clifton. I think history is collective memories. H. Murakami. I'm reading Murakami and there's a cat dressed in a Victorian corset. It speaks with Southern French accent, the reefer and his clothes lending curiosity to our arrangement. This well-dressed feline and myself are thirst-trapping about that white man in the Olympics photo, the one who stood on the podium and thought of his own country's apartheid, the whimsical, glittery genocide and criminality of it all. While time traveling, we nearly always escape tribulation, doxing the names of hungry ghosts or those pale-faced, exalted ancestors, their assumed identities fed with vinegary wine and the bitterness of watching me switch my fine ass down the same sidewalk as a white man. The feline sparkles with intrigue as the light switches flicker, as if all the spirits have come for us, confused to not find men, but a pair of comrades reading teleportation records as historical fact. Stop, the love you save may be your own. And that's of course after Jackson 5, Michael Jackson, that song. When he woke from the fever dream and sat straight up, this night, like every night, sounded from his bearded throat like a deep horn. He started his life as a file. His daddy was a ghost and he was free. Not free like tender, but free like the thoughts of his woman's doobie wrapped self riding another, waist deep in some other dream. He even kept a Freemason cap on, saturated with the smells of okra and petrol from the country kitchen. Behind the pump station, a trail of steamed fish and fried corn at his back. He had found safer ways to forget this extra magic of walking through the compost of files, graven and unidentified. His is a wild light that keeps loving in this rebellion of the data electric. His delicate gaze unfixed until he is pressed gently back to sleep, where he keeps asking his name of uninterested spirits who repeat notices to defragment his drive. Morning Conjure 1. This is the morning I scrub my floors. After uncounted days, cross paths, pine salt in my mop water, my supplication of the week or lifetime, I have some money in my pockets, hallowed be thy name. All manner of psalms and welfare lines, and 7:45 evening pick 4 on that dream about black dogs in a house raised to flint. Spider webs above my headboard in a corner, kaleidoscope dream catchers, standing water on my night table, make it so I can't discern between waking or working. There is no more catfish stew. Daylight in grandmama's kitchen with iron pots and children, red birds of the ancestral arcana, knives to cut what needs, no less than 10 pounds of long grain rice. Unsure of what this day brings, I crack garlic in the mortar to make stew. Lengths of catfish and grease so hot I dare not blink. Tomatoes, thyme, its dragonfly spine submerged. A meal well served to even birds in paradise. Evening sets. I look forth at the calabash sky, its palatial self flecked with stars. I seek the quiet of the night and also whatever is needed to make do. When the bells are in water, they make no sound. They always did tell me not to pray in the dark, in the burrows, in the need, but I follow the sound of the bells as they peel across the river. My ankles steadied in pluff mud, my white dress damp from sweat. I come here because I think you can hear me. The bells might wake you, then I won't feel so bad for wailing. I want to be baptized in Shachitananda, the last image of myself before light closes on itself like a tongue click. I am these: hands, a church, an altar, Parsifal, a quarter, carillon, a go-go. And lastly, which is funny, you might hear my grandmother in the background. She's on the other side of the house. This poem is about a memory and time and what happens to our memory over time. And I started thinking a lot about just like caring for her differently from a different perspective. And I started working with this metaphor about cicadas. And it's slow coming just because I'm afraid of bugs. So when that last brew came out, I was in the house. But, but this poem is called Timble. It helps that we do not remember when light first opened our eyes. This Old Testament sun warming the dark, its nutritious sweet lingering before even our bones. We trade places as a single body, the day song receiving us. No pantomime orchestra, we who have risen to sing, to love, to die, to timbre and vibrato, until we can only sound ourselves in the hush, until our memories are at rest, like the old trees that sated us all those years, our mouths latched at their roots. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who came to hear us read tonight. Thank you so much.
And I second that. I really appreciate everyone who was here. And this was and you know, it's so funny, you can sense when something's going to be special. And I knew today was one of those days. And I was not disappointed. I was left at times speechless, sometimes fighting back tears, sometimes laughing, sometimes hearing about romance and love, and the understanding that love isn't always what the novels tell us or the soaps tell us. This was just a real beautiful day. I know that we were scheduled to go from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. One of the things I like to do is like to mix it up because I know that ears get fatigued rather quickly. And I'm so glad that so many of you were able to stay. I don't know if any of you are actually reading today. I don't know if we're having open mic or not, but if there's anyone that would like to share, if you could put on your camera and unmute yourself, I would say, let's try to get at least 2 more readers before we leave. Anyone game to join the fray? All right, I see, I believe it's Gia. Is that Gia Shakur? Gia, please unmute yourself if you can. And please, I would like for you to just add to this cornucopia.
Well, Shakeema is my friend, and she invited me to the reading. I missed her reading on Friday because I was in the airport and just shuffling around. So I'm really happy that I'm getting like to join her and you wonderful folks this Sunday. I might have to read from my laptop. Give me a second.
No problem. And I just want, not that you would do it, but in Philadelphia, I have to make sure I tell everybody, okay, 1 poem. But this seems like a different spirit here. So please, I would love for you to share. And if there's anyone else, please, please, please raise your hand next. And it is Gia, correct?
Yes.
Yay, I got something right.
Okay. This is this is untitled. Actually, Shakeema helped me with heavy editing of this piece that I got an A on for my final portfolio. So thank you, Shakeema. The Lovers. After howling the halls, pieces of her ears in between star gunk stained shears, she's gonna ask Alice about her chalice. Chicken feathers are burning. A man grows an appetite atop his cornea. Smile hoot about hard women over sinks. On Bradhurst, children swell on condensed milk, stout, and patterns of home. The women tender licks his gash for debris. It was funnel cleaned by a coffin stiletto. The white parts have hardened by wind. The man pulls a cloud from the prism of her eye. It's a 70-degree day in the month of Orca. He crosses his arms in the name of Obia, says peace came to passersby. On 7th, older women hold tight grand germs. A non-native swings a land chop overhead and renames the waste capitalism of America. Vending machines spit overpriced PPP out their red, blue, and silver mouths. The lovers disapprove jointly. Women's head spills out, seeks her both to hold hands out in collection, the rememory of the unknown, the precise distance between shame, comfort, and home. Man claims they are better than their parents who fashioned batons from their limbs and mouths. He now wears his neglect on his left cheek. Plenty good and bad to apportion. Thank you.
Thank you. I just had to write stunning. I feel like I'm like the uncle who's like going, oh, my kids are so brilliant. They're so brilliant. Is there anyone else who wants to join my family? Miss Greer, I saw that in your eyes. So please share.
Sure. I'd be happy to share.
Thank you.
Let's see. I pulled out a poem called "Today We Rebuild." Today we rebuild. So much left unsaid. Covered in hay and manure, we called it garden. Said it was floral and pristine. Said the silences were natural. Said the dark-barked fallen oaks cut down by men with axes and strong-armed into submissive, woody death. We said it was the natural order of things. Seedlings left caged in winters we made, root systems tilled, separated, broken into pieces, overwintered in summer. We said it was the natural order of things. Seeds blown from path to patch in need of fertile places to land, spread roots, grow, took them tagged, grabbed by throats, splash paint their fronds with reds, corral them, and we said it was natural. Lit a match on fields we wanted to flourish but wanted to reign over for all time. We left it as a glowing conflagration, never speaking of the blazing wall closing in, burning down the fields we know are ripe and lush, the fields that feed us, the fields that nourish our humanity as whole harvest. We took spades, shovels, poles, dug in, aerated, turned the soils, migrated some in, brought in backhoes to trudge up the moist, worm-ridden fungi past. We forget, we said. We did not want to repeat. No matter where we dig or climb, we come upon the fire we left untended. Thank you for letting me participate. This was amazing. You guys are uber talented.
And I think you just joined the group. This is awesome. Is there anyone else that would like to share? Because I'm about to do something I never do when I host. But is there anyone else who would like to share? When I host, I never share poetry, but I just have to share one thing because I don't know when next time I'll see Shakeema, and this is all about South Carolina. And this one is about my grandmother. So when you say grandmother, I said, you know what? I've got to read this, if you don't mind. It's called Grandma Bracey's Lemon Meringue Pie. Fading like dry rot calico curtains that hung from Grandma's bedroom, like everyone who is, was, will be, Grandma's life marks eternity at the Ides of forever. Like a center burning candle, as much has been as will be. We stare at the flames that meet. We cling to the memories of others, then we cling to our remembrances. Repeat, rinse, repeat them to any ear. Who we pray take us antidote and all to prolong our return to forever, as what was to be is. Forever is marked by Grandma's cussing and gin and the smell of her joint ointment, which unfurled her hands so she could cradle us, holding on to see all her grands, endowed with the bite and the brazenness of Miss Wilhelmina, a sassy girl who never married, never regretted, but who continues to fade like the glass ring on her coffee table that was left because of her pie, her lemon meringue pie, which made you lose your mind or at least forget your coffee. But Grandma Bracey is gone, while the ring continues to fade, wax over with pledge, fading but visible, a bookmark to the memory of Wilhelmina's homemade lemon meringue pie. So my death too will divide forever, dolce and velvet like Grandma, whom no one knows whole, only patches quilted together by fraying memories with threads of truth, as we all mark eternity between forevermore and forever gone. And I want to be lemon pie with no coffee. Pie so good, you don't wash it down. You let it coat your tongue. Let it stay sweet on your palate till its tartness returns you to forever. I thank you all. This has been a brilliant reading. And I'm going to ask that the readers hang on just a little bit longer. I want to thank all the guests for doing the thing that I love most, which is muting yourself, because as you record, it keeps the camera on the person who's speaking. So I thank you all for being mini directors. Give yourself a big applause for that. Please do me a favor. If you're ever interested at reading at Moonstone or doing anything with Moonstone, please feel free to drop us an email and contact us directly. I would say also, don't forget to check the website. There's all these anthologies that we do. We would love to be, for those of you who've never been published, we'd love to be your first time published, place of publishing. And if you are looking to publish your manuscript, perhaps we could be that place as well. But like I said, I just want to thank you all. And if I could just ask our three guests just to leave us with one word of wisdom. Shakeema, I think I'm not going to ask you to do that because I am still lost in your trust us with what you left us. You almost made me cry. That was not very nice of you.
I'm sorry. I can be intense sometimes.
And at this point, everyone, you can unmute yourself and applaud and laugh. And I'm going to start with Brother Yao, and then I'm going to end with my new brother. All right. Yao, what would you like to leave us? What words of advice and wisdom you have for us, besides your amazing work?
And I just enjoyed the reading, and check out the light box, and
Thank you.
you know, much respect to Shakeema, you know, who has really just taught me so much about, you know, imagery in the last couple of months. It's like we live in cycles, and in winter, Shakeema, you inspired me, you know. And then Jesse, man, you came and you know, asked me to do a reading. So not really wisdom, but just a lot of thanks and gratitude, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for inviting me to you both, and for everyone for hosting this space. It was a nice Sunday.
Yeah, it was
And
absolutely beautiful. Oh, go ahead.
No, I would say, for those of you who don't know, there is a poem that's in the link that Cecilia Caballero sent to us.
Shoot.
So please, before we close out the meeting, make sure you click onto that link so you can read her poem, because she's at a cafe and she says it's loud and she doesn't want to, although jazz musicians did it all the time. I'm sorry, Cecilia.
This is a gorgeous poem. This is one of my favorite poems of hers.
Oh, good.
Okay,
I'm gonna.
excellent. So we will all make sure
Copy.
we check it out. And Omowole, please.
All right. I'm gonna. First of all, are we still okay? Ooh, my screen did a weird thing. First of all, thank you, everyone. Thank you all, poetry lovers. I really appreciate you, Shakeema. I really appreciate your work. Thank you. I really appreciate you, Brother Yao. Thank you. Brother Elijah, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Larry, Brother Larry. You know, I appreciate you putting this together. This turned out real good. I'm going to read something from another author really quickly. I'm just going to probably read the first two sentences because Shakeema, I heard this in you. This is from a book called America's Racial Karma. It's the last chapter, A Call to Ancestorship. My prayer for us is that the tears flowing down the bottom of my heart, watering the ground, broken by shock and grief and remembrance of the fallen and those who have yet to fall in the sea of suffering. My prayer is to stand upright in the house of great belonging, the miraculous pearl, this true land of my birth. My prayer is to speak the sound of the great drum of the open heart and follow the thunder that is the truth. And he goes on from here. This is Larry Ward in America's Racial Karma. I ain't reading the rest of this, y'all, because I'll probably start crying again. But Shakeema, you press this here button right here.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, thank you
All
for
right.
sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, for real.
Highly recommend this. Anyway,
Well,
that's it. Thank
I
you.
want to thank you all. I love our. It's so funny. Although we had 3 features, I think everyone that shared Gia and Ms. Greer, because I can't see your first name. Is that Catrice? Oh, I got it right. Boy,
Yes.
I'm that reading is fundamental. Is really working for me. I want to thank you also for sharing. This has been I thank you for blessing us all. I appreciate you all. And at this point, I will bring our event to a close, but I would love to speak with Brother Yao as well as Shakeema and is it Omowole? Because
Yeah, Omowole. Yeah, perfect.
okay, good. I keep saying, am I pronouncing it correctly? Because my father used to say that our first possession is our name, and don't damage and don't misuse someone's possession. So I try to not to mispronounce it as much.
That's a good
But
one.
thank you all. So absolutely amazing reading. And I can't thank Larry enough to allow me to be the fill-in. And I am just like going, my goodness. So Shakeema, are you you ever get a chance to go down to Charleston? Because they have a poetry society there that I think would really I'm being very polite. I think you should go.
Okay. I didn't know there was one, but yeah, I'm down there.
Well, actually, if memory serves me correct, Charleston, in Charleston, the Poetry Society of South Carolina, I believe, is the oldest in America.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, I should probably know
Wow.
that.
So, by the way, I mean, I think, Brother Yao, I don't know if this is true about you, but I can say this is true about me, but I have a suspicion that it may be true about you because I was listening to your words and there was such intense research that I was hearing that was so digestible that if you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't realize you were learning. So I really, so I'm a research buff, and I sense that in your work, either you have lived many lives or you really have just researched in a way that's just, I don't know. Do you do a lot of research?
Yeah, it might be the many lives thing, man. Yeah, it might. Because I mean, I lived in Wuhan, so that's not research,
Oh, no, but that is.
Yeah.
Oh, but that is.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Whenever you're able to see life through someone else's lenses, and when you're in a different place, you're forced to put on those glasses because you see the spectacles. And yes, the pun was intended. But yeah. Like I said, I just was really, I thank you all for allowing me to host this. Just beautiful work.
Thank you.
If you
reading, y'all.
And thank you for allowing me to take this from a traditional reading to what I like to do. Can you put in the chat any information about you? Because I don't want to end the meeting until after you can put your contact information in the chat.
Good idea.
Is anybody else who would like to say anything? Please, I don't want to be the only one speaking because you can see I have laryngitis, so please.
I'm just gonna put my Twitter handle in here.
Oh, cool.
It's the same on Instagram.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna try and keep up with the young, y'all youngins, and put mine up in here. And it's the same it's on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, you'll
find
it.
I'm still trying. I don't understand Instagram. I'm still trying to understand.
There's a lot of stuff I don't understand. I have a TikTok account. I don't understand that. I just like go along with it,
Yeah.
Like,
it's funny.
And I'm like, no, but tell me about it.
That's funny. Yeah, I shared the announcement on Instagram, and somebody was saying promote it via such and such, and I'm like, I don't know how do I do that?
Well, I'm hoping that we'll be able to, and I think I'll work with Larry
nice.
on condensing this down so that it can be a different type of recording, so that the recording, because like I said, everyone really kept themselves muted, so that I think we have a pretty decent recording where it's focused on the US readers, all of you. And if no one's opposed to doing that, then I think I'm going to see if I can edit it down to a really good form and try to get that back out to you guys. I know Larry's like going, what did you just promise? I'm always doing something wrong. So at this point, I haven't heard from Sarah or Nina, but I want to thank you guys and Jason as well. And Michael, I appreciate you being there as well. I mean, and some
Thanks,
people left
Michael.
already, so I do apologize. I like to acknowledge everyone. And at this point, does anyone have any questions for me before we close?
I'm good, just thanks. Yeah.
Thanks.
How often do you have readings? Do you do readings a lot online? I'd like to get on a mailing list or something to stay abreast of all of the wonderful happenings.
Okay, that's a great question. I couldn't have paid you for a better one. Go to moonstone.org and you can sign up for the mailing list. Let me see if I can get that real quick. I should have put that up there myself. So wait, I'm gonna put that link up in a second as soon as I get to it. And I'm like you, brother, I really am like, okay, I know I should keep up with the young people, but what's really sad is that I always joke about the fact, my family jokes about the fact
there you go.
that I was actually one of the first young people that was testing video games. I was part of the testing of one video game back in 1968.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I know. For people who are like, they're going, oh my God, you mean they had electricity back then? Barely.
They did. We had tubes.
Oh my goodness. I contend that the sound from tubes is far more human than the circuit.
Yeah, a lot of
I'm just
musicians,
saying.
a lot of guitarists, I hear the purists, they want the tube amps. They don't want the solid state. They want the tube amps.
Yep. And I can tell the difference.
Yeah.
So oh, Shakeema,
Yes.
I'm gonna be mean. What's your favorite song that you listen to right now?
Right now. That one, I think that's the one that will catch everybody off guard, because I started listening for like the first time in my life to Black Sabbath. There's this, I know it's
interesting.
I'm not a metalhead at all. I'm an R&B rap girl, but I started listening to this song called Die Young, and so I've been listening to that on repeat for like the last week and everything.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah, that's my favorite song right now. Pray for my hair though, because I'm listening to it at like top volume.
Oh wow. Wow.
Well, I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. Anybody else listening to anything quite that bizarre? Actually, it's not. I know Black Sabbath. I just can't believe that's my generation. It's like, oh my God.
No, I can't believe it either, because I never listened to like metal before. Closest I came was Hot Topic. So
wow.
Well, that's great. Like I said, the more I think the more you listen to different things, the more it really affects your art.
Yeah.
And you are a painter. You are not a poet. You are a painter. I'm just like, oh my God. I mean, you even put in the sense of smell. I was like going, she ain't stopping.
Yeah.
You have any poems about getting your hair braided?
I have a poem about Black girls jumping rope. I think I read that one earlier, but no braiding. Well, no, I have braid poems, but no braiding poems. So like I always write about braids and like love poems, because my poems are about usually Black love. And so I'm like, I wonder what braids look like, but yeah.
Huh.
No greater love than a mother braiding her daughter's hair.
Yeah.
All right, that's your assignment. I'm just joking.
Burning her ear a little bit, maybe with the hot comb.
Ooh.
Give a poet a thought. So I know that now, are all of you teaching right now, or you're teaching people currently?
I'm not teaching. I'm not teaching in a classroom. But I'm not teaching poetry. There's one young fraternity brother that I'm mentoring right now, but that's pretty much it. I guess I should say sort of teaching, because I do technical writing by day to finance my poetry habit and whatnot. And so a lot of what you do in tech writing is teaching people. Uh-oh, so I see someone saying that Nina's talking about she listened to Gil Scott. Hey.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's what I do. What about the other poets?
I work at a roofing company in the day. I work remotely. I'm on the phones, so that's what I do.
Well, well, you should have good sales. Your voice is really musical.
Thank you. It's
Yeah.
funny that you said that, because oftentimes I will manipulate that when I'm on the phone with angry customers.
That's right. That's right. Close that deal. I'll buy 2 of them. I don't need them, but you know.
I think that poets make the best salespeople, because remember, advertising really is just poetry.
Yeah.
And I always like to say my favorite poem of all time, believe it or not, is Plop, Plop, Fizz, Fizz. Oh, what a relief.
It is.
Meter, rhyme scheme, onomatopoeia. I mean, come on. And that little short thing, it had everything.
Everything.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, someone has Alice Coltrane. And at this point, I'm going to bring everything to a close. I just like to sometimes get a chance for us to get to know each other a little bit more. Please, guys, it was a blessing to meet you all. I'm going to put my information. I should have done that myself. This is my email. Please use it. I would love to stay in touch with all of you guys. And that's a photo for you guys. Yeah. And if I was in Pittsburgh, it'd be Yoons. How did you get published in the Pittsburgh Review? That's I'm still trying to figure out.
I've been like at home caregiver for a while now, like maybe like the last 8 or 7 years, and I didn't have a car, so I was still writing and submitting poetry. And I just found the journal online and read it, and I liked it, but I don't think it's around anymore.
All right, so please, Moonstone still is.
Yeah.
Was that subtle salesmanship or what?
Because you're a poet.
Exactly. So I want you all who are still here to do that. And once again, thank you all. I will bring this to a close reluctantly, but thank you. I appreciate you all. Blessings to everyone.